Welcome. Now we are joined by Mr. R. Sivakumar. He's from Intel, the Managing Director of Sales and Marketing Group for South Asia. So Siva, tell us to start with, how's Intel doing in South Asia? What kind of potential of growth do you see for your business?
Yeah, South Asia is, very clearly one of the few markets that continues to grow, right? Much more nuanced than that is not just the growth in this region, it is how quickly technology is spreading into beyond the metros, right? Typically, when you think of India, think of South Asia, about 10 cities come to mind, and you think technology will by and large be consumed there. If I look at the last 3 quarters or so, a huge part of almost all of the growth is actually coming outside of the metros.
What's Intel's role in that? If you could help us understand that as well.
It's multi-layered, right? The first aspect of it is getting the information out there, saying what's available, how is it available, what is the cost of acquiring technology, what do you do with it, what is the usage.
And Siva, if I may understand, for the sake of our audience, we're talking about villages, townships that are not Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, right? You're talking about all the small towns in the country.
That's exactly right. Computing technology today is consumed by our estimate in over 800 cities and towns in India. And 800. And that actually is still a bit of a misrepresentation, because people from the neighboring smaller hamlets actually come to the slightly bigger towns, which fall in that 800. So if we really figured out who's actually buying this technology, you would find that many small towns, 3,000, 4,000 type population are buying computing technology.
Shiva, what kind of technology are we talking about? I mean, definitely it's not laptops here. I don't think there are a whole lot of people using laptops in 800 cities beyond Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai. So what forms are you considering for future growth?
We launched a affordable line of products around the Intel Atom processor, right? And those that processor has enabled creation of these devices that we call net tops. In looks, it looks like a smaller desktop, but essentially the advantage of a device like that is that it consumes less power, right? It's more transportable, takes less space, and so on and so forth. But much more importantly, it has enabled very effectively the sub 10,000 rupee price point where systems are getting sold. And that has made the point of entry much more affordable. So it's not necessary that a person walking in, viewing a sub 10,000 rupee PC, actually buys a sub 10,000 rupee PC. But the hesitation is now gone. They walk and say, yeah, maybe I can afford this. But then once the door is open, you create the process of their knowledge. Then they buy, some of them buy at 9 or 10,000 rupees, others buy at 12,000 rupees, others buy at 15, and then there might be a few that say, I actually need a laptop. They might spend 25,000 rupees. So it's a whole range.
So tell us about the deployments throughout the country. We're talking about these 800 different villages or townships, not Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, definitely. So how do you see your point of entry? What kind of technology are we talking about? How do you get all these people at the bottom of the pyramid almost get involved?
We tend to look at big problems, right? What big problems can we solve? So history of industry, early part of the 1980s, PCs first came out. But in the first 20 years, our technology went to about the first billion people on the planet. And this first billion people are people who will just continue to buy our technology. They're probably in their third or fourth PC or laptop, but they will continue to consume our technology, no doubt about that. We looked at this problem about 5 years back and said, how do we get to the next 2 billion, right? That seemed like a reasonably large problem to solve. And it became very clear that we needed to build technology that for the first time in our history was not optimized for performance, was not optimized for some cool new thing that you could do, but it was optimized for cost, right? Something that is a huge mindset change for engineers. Engineers love performance and squeezing out the next little thing that you can do, the transistor and so on and so forth. And we said, stop that. Continue to do that for the first billion, but we need to open up the new markets where this technology can really change lives. So we started a new line of processors called the Intel Atom processor, built for affordability, and that enabled the building of these lower cost products which consume less power, are much more transportable because as soon as you consume less power, magic happens. You know, you can build them smaller. You don't need these big fans to cool them down. They're much more transportable. They're lighter. They take less space. On and on and on. It's a virtuous cycle, right?
Now, another challenge you might have faced is connectivity, because if I understand this correctly, these are devices that will run optimally on a network.
Sure. I mean, today a PC or a computing device that's not on a network is a brick. It's just an expensive brick. That's all it is. So what you need is some form of connectivity. And what is happening in India is unknown to us, perhaps. Over the last 18 months, there's actually been a severe build-out of infrastructure, connectivity infrastructure. We have not done a very effective job of even making people aware that that's all available. And it's actually available at reasonable price points, right? Yeah, there could be more work to be done in terms of making it much more affordable, and that'll happen as the volumes build up. But the fact that you can actually get a broadband connection in city number 400 is a reasonable reality today.
And would you do that using WiMAX or 3G? I know
today the vast majority of the connectivity, broadband connectivity, when I say connectivity, it's really broadband, is still through wired connections, right? We have ways to go on that. You know, there is probably, you know, we are at about 7 million broadband connections today. We could probably triple that. There's enough capacity to do that fairly quickly. The next wave, the next real build out comes with wireless, right? So with both WiMAX, which, you know, BSNL is starting to build out both in rural India as well as urban India, as well as private operators will now have a license, as the government has announced that we'll have a license in 3 months. Those things will cause the creation of the wireless network. From the industry standpoint, from the device standpoint, the industry is completely ready to accelerate all of the right devices.
What else can the government do in terms of subsidies, in terms of kind of tax umbrellas?
In general, what government can do is really fundamentally work on the acceleration of the deployment of infrastructure. I think that is the one big role that the government can do. Even within there is obviously policy. There is various things that governments do on a regulatory framework. The things that India did right in 2002, 2003 that led to this massive expansion of voice connectivity, we need a similar analog to happen in the data side, on internet connectivity, on broadband internet connectivity. And there, the calendar or the expectation continues to move, right? Wasn't too long ago that 256K connection was considered broadband in India, where the rest of the world at that time was at 2 megs.
Right, yeah.
We now are talking about 2 megs and the rest of the world is at 10.
Yeah. So right now the definition of broadband in India has now been upgraded to Mbps?
Well, there is a recommendation. Okay. There's a recommendation from TRAI, a very well thought out recommendation to peg it at least a 2 meg connection. I think it will get a reasonable hearing because there is a certain momentum in our ecosystem today that we have never previously seen. You know, I think that is also borne out by the fact by the fact that where technology is actually getting consumed. Unfortunately, we have sort of a bird's eye view of how that is happening.
Well, thank you, Siva, for joining us today.
Moving on, let's now take a look at how a Chennai celebrity invests in his future.
Vincent Asokan believes in solid investments, family, the right roles on screen, and assets that appreciate over a period of time.
Money is security and to live a very comfortable life. And it also gives you a spending power. So the spending power allows you to buy luxuries also for your lifestyle. Investments are very important for a person. Like I would put it as my investments are mostly on real estate. And again, in real estate, I would invest, or my investments are some of where I get a rental income and partly goes into farmlands or places like that. So my investments are mostly on immovable, which I prefer only real estate. Okay, so I do not see when investing in, let's say, jewelry. People say jewelry, but jewelry is again To me, it is more on the luxury side, because once you buy a jewelry, it's not going to, the person is not wouldn't want to part with it. And this is again, and there is a lot of appreciation when it comes to real estate, and you can also develop it. So that goes where my interest is, where you could do something creative with it. So it also goes like that to me on the creative side.
So as Vincent says, let's keep our investments real and solid. That's all for now. Do write to us on feedback@ndtv-hindu.com. Goodbye.